What's up guys, I'm really excited today because today marks the start of my revamped deck profiles. I'm going to be doing 2 videos per day of the same ruler. It'll be a long detailed version and a shorter just kind of deck list version for those who don't have the time to watch the full video. I recommend watching the longer ones just because it will teach you how to play the deck and have you understand why I made certain choices I made. But if you really don't have the time and you're a really competitive player that kind of gets where all the angles are meeting anyway, it's totally fine. I'm going to be doing 5 a week, so it'll be Monday through Friday, but if I do find time on the weekends, I'll try to squeeze them in there too, because we have 27 rulers, so if I could do it under a month, that would be great. And without any more interruptions of any announcements or anything like that, I'm going to get straight into Faria's deck profile, which is one of my new favorite decks that I want to use, so let's hop straight into it. Starting off with the magic stones, I decided to run one little red the pure stone because I do run Lancelot in this deck, and I think it's way too important to have the chance to buff him by 2 because with Egwene that gives him his 1000 attack trigger effect to do 700 damage. I then run 4 magic stone of Heat Ray, which is really important because red's really necessary in this deck. I have a very small red engine, but I can't see me playing without it. And then just 5 magic stone of light, which is I decided to run just the basic stones and not try to mix any other colors in there because split is way too strong right now. Even with Faria's heals, I'd rather be using her mana to be getting an established board rather than trying to heal damage that's just going to be done if I don't summon anything anyway. It's kind of like if you're in the lead, her effect is really good, but I feel like if you're in the lead, you can always use those stones to push for more damage anyway. So it's not that I think her heal is bad or anything, but I'd rather just stick to getting my stones out, not being hurt by split, and still being able to play all my cards. I made the Resonator lineup keeping Burn in mind, but it does work against everything else as well. I decided to run 4 Holy Warrior of Hope because of his stats. The 4/4 is extremely relevant right now because it can block Hunter and kill it, so if you drop this first turn, their only play is to summon Hunter and then immediately tribute it for Cthulhu, and then attack with Cthulhu and you can block, so you prevent any first turn damage from them, which is what they get a really big boost from. And then I run 4 Percival, of course, to search out any of the knights or the swords. I then have 4 Guinevere. I'll explain why I find the 1-drops really important later on, but for right now, Guinevere is also just really strong, because like I mentioned in my other deck profile, if you have Guinevere and let's say a Lancelot, and they attempt to do anything to Lancelot other than Flame, you can just use your effect to tribute it and draw 2 and discard 1, and you immediately kind of waste their card that was targeting Lancelot and get something out of it yourself because you were going to lose your card anyway. So I find her extremely good. I mean, she can fix problem hands, she can get rid of cards that they're going to get rid of anyway, and it's kind of really annoying. They always almost want to deal with her first, and her 400 defense also blocks the Hunter, but then you would take the Cthulhu. So it is kind of like, I don't know if it's going to stay in the deck, but right now I really love it because it kind of feels just kind of like a safe way to plus off cards that are going to get removed. And then for Egwene is extremely important to this deck because the 200 attack really helps Lancelot, as well as so does the resting. If you can just get all of their monsters off the field and you keep all your knights, the only real out to it is like Dark Pulse or Rapid Decays. So his stats are really strong and hard to deal with. And then I have 4 Lancelot. With how strong Lancelot gets with the Egwenes, I don't mind not dropping at turn 2, and that's why I only have the little red and the 4 light reds as my redstones. Even late game, if I've already spent that time setting up Egwenes and stuff, Lancelot's just as strong coming in late than it is turn 2, so I don't mind needing the double red without having all redstones. And then I decided to run 1 Grim the Avenger. This card deserved a spot for me because Mephistopheles and stuff with Vlad is still a problem, and it's an answer to that. While if they don't run black, you can just give plus 200 to Lancelot, and if you have another little redstone, that triggers his 1002. Or if you have a Egwene and a Lancelot and you drop this, it gives him 200 and becomes 1000 anyway. So I figured it doesn't hurt. And then I decided to run Guiber. This was one of the cards I was running in yesterday's deck that really just won the game against Burn when I played against my friend. With all the 1-drops in this deck, it's really easy to get this to cost 1, and 1200 with flying is insane. I mean, there was times where I would have 2 of these and a 1-drop and 5 stones, and I'd be able to just drop a 1-drop, then pay 3 for Guiber, and then now the second Guiber only costs 1, and you would pay 5 and you would get 2 1200 beat sticks and whatever the 1-drop is. Let's say if it's Gwen, that's even better because if they try to remove this, you're just going to plus off of it anyway. And this card counters Bahamut so well because even though you're both going to die, And even though they get imperishable because the sword makes them do 1200, so this dies, it's totally fine as long as you get it off the field because your knights are going to end up winning you the game. So dropping this is just a for sure kind of counter to Bahamut while being safe from any of their damage. So I really like it. The only way they can get rid of it really is if they use, like, let's say a Ghost Flame or Thunder and then Demon Flame to just kill it, which is pretty good too because then they're just wasting a lot of resources, so it gives you kind of some time to catch up. For the spells, I decided to run 4 Excalibur and no Leviathan. The reason why I feel Excalibur is better for Faria, other than the obvious reasons of the first effect, is I was trying to use Faria as an answer to Bahamut in the sense that if I buffer enough, I can attack him and then he'll die and I'll get him out of the field. But relying on both swords for her attack to be enough to take him out and getting the swiftness just seemed too much. I figured Faria is actually a really good damage sponge. If you can get it on the field, and the only obvious answer is just flame on their draw or something because she's going to come out with too much attack with these swords. And too much defense as well. But unless they flame the second they draw and they have the red and the black open, which doesn't happen against Bahamut, it happens against Vlad, but I'm not really too worried about them having it open because you're putting so much pressure with your knights early game that they pretty much have to force an insane amount of removal for this card, or you're going to attack with a huge amount next turn, and if you do get to attack and then play a god ability, it's most likely going to be game. So I like using Faria as this like kind of just giant tank that just sits there, and they're either forced to use a bunch of resources to respond to it and then you end up winning with your knights anyway, or if they let it live, you're going to win with your god ability. So, or of course you can summon and use the god ability the turn you're going to win, and that's an option too. And then for Thunder, with the little redstone, which I always call red on, I have 5 technically redstones for this, so I feel totally comfortable playing 4 Thunders. If you do hit a light red turn 1 and you're going against Bahamut, I'd much rather hold the Thunder than summon the Holy Warrior of Hope, because if you drop the Holy Warrior of Hope, like I said, they're going to summon Hunter, they're going to tribute it for Cthulhu, and then go and you're going to be forced to block and lose your card. But if you have the Thunder, you would take the Hunter. If they tribute it for Cthulhu, you Thunder to Cthulhu once it attacks. If they don't tribute it, you just draw, Thunder Hunter on draw, and then proceed with your turn. So I found it really important to play Thunder, and it's also the same reason of why I play Justice Godsword. This is the same concept of Thunder, but only if I hit light. If I was to have this in my hand, I would just wait and just use it on their Cthulhu the second it attacks, and it stops their play so much. If you can get rid of that first monster, they just lose so much advantage. And the great thing about this card too is it says when you attack and you have a J-Ruler, it does damage equal to the J-Ruler's attack instead. And with Faria, you're always going to be at least at like 1,000 if you tap the sword even once. And it's nice to know that even, like I said, if you have Faria just being the tank in the middle of the field, it doesn't matter whether she attacks or not. If you attack, let's say, a Lancelot and it has 1,000 attack, you deal 700 damage to something and kill it. They attempt to block with something else, you use this and you kill whatever's blocking it, and they take 1,000 to the face. So it's extremely strong. And then I run 2 Accede the Light. This is a card that doesn't see a lot of play, and I typically didn't like it way too much at first. But in a deck like this that has an insane amount of 1-drops and an insane amount of 2-drops, it's really cool for them. Like, I've had times where if they try to Rapid Decay Lancelot and I have 2 open, I just play this and go into Gwen, and that's so frustrating because Gwen is so hard to get over. Or the same way the other way, I'll attack with Gwen, they'll attempt to kill it with, like, let's say Block and Thunder, and I'll use Accede the Light, and then go into Lancelot, and I'll swing for 600, and if I somehow have, let's say, either another Gwen or enough stones to pump it up or anything like that, it's now going to do 700 damage and remove something. So I actually really like this card. And then lastly, 2 Dream of Juliet. Dream of Juliet is great because it protects all of your resonators. You can blink something like Gwyber from a Stony to Death or a Carmilla. You can blink your Lancelot to be able to attack again, or from a Rapid Decay. Same with Gwen. So I really like it just kind of as a defensive card, and it's also just a plus that it destroys additions and lets you draw a card if you want to use it for those options as well. I wanted to make sure my side deck had an answer for a lot of decks and not just burn. I decided to go with 2 Able just in case I had to clear stuff like Jan and Purple Mist or Elf decks or anything that has to just swarm the field with a bunch of untargetable. And then 4 Susano because I don't have a lot of draw power, so I want to use as early as possible against burn, so I use 4. 3 Rapid Decay for stuff like Knights. This does actually hurt my deck as well, but like I said, I have the Accede and the Dream of Juliet. But it's really good to use against other knights, especially Melgus, who doesn't have a lot of protection cards. 3 Savior of Splendor for more dark decks, stuff like Vlad, more Mephistopheles removal and stuff like that. and 3 Return to Stories, because I see a lot of people trying to attempt using Grimm again to answer Bahamut, because I guess Turn to Tell a Fairy Tale does seem strong with the Hamlin. I just in case like Etna and stuff like that would pin your field down would be really annoying. So I decided to just run this just in case I went against any type of like rogue Grim deck or anything like that. I would still have an answer for those Etnas and Hamlins. So that was of course my Faria the Ruler of Godsword deck profile. If you guys have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. As I mentioned, I'm going to be doing the all 27 rulers deck profiles coming this month and maybe stretching a little bit into the other one unless I can find time on the weekends. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do so all those videos come straight to you, and I will catch you guys next time.